and we greatly appreciate your time and participation. So if someone could just either in the Q&A or chat box, just let me know that you can see my screen and hear me, that would be great. I always want to just kind of double check things here. So as we start to launch and dive in, I am Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach and founder of my own coaching organization, and we have a team of coaches and resume writers, LinkedIn as well, and lots of people are saying they can hear me, so that's perfect. Okay, great. So we are going to talk today about how to solve this career burnout thing, because especially given working remotely for so long, we totally understand that a lot of people out there can feel burned out just from the having to work remotely and missing that sense of camaraderie of being in an office, et cetera, et cetera. So we totally get it. Our clients have been telling us that they're feeling frustrated, burned out, all different things, and anxious during this difficult time. We totally understand and get it. We are trying to pump out as much information as we can to help you during this time, just FYI. So I did want to share on this screen with you on our homepage, on our blog. We are posting a lot of additional new timely information and resources for you all, as well as on our LinkedIn page. So if you're not connected with me specifically on LinkedIn, that's where we post our company news and updates and all of that. So trying to help people as much as possible during this time. There are lots of reasons. If you take a look at this next slide, there's understandably a lot of different reasons where we can feel burned out in our career, not just due to what's going on in the world today, but for a lot of different reasons. Under other normal circumstances, we might be a little bit bored. We might feel overworked. We might feel like we're not being challenged anymore, and we need to find new ways to get re-engaged in our jobs. And one of the things that we wanted you to know first is that we have found with our clients that everyone wants to feel challenged in some way, shape, or form. It needs to be the right balance of that, obviously. But for me specifically as a business owner, even though I feel like being a career coach is really like my purpose and my calling, so to speak, and I'm incredibly passionate about it and love what we do, I get burned out just like anybody else does. And for me, I found there's kind of a cadence to it, if you will, where it's about every 3 to 5 years, I need to kind of mix things up in terms of my job. So even if you are in the right fit, just know that you can get burned out. And that doesn't suddenly mean that, oh my gosh, I need to go do something completely different. It can just mean that you need to change things up a little bit. So what I typically do is I have in my strategic career plan that I need to attend some sort of conference or workshop or seminar at least twice a year. I switch up my job and perform it in a different way. And I know not all of us can necessarily do this, but sometimes it's as simple as taking a new perspective on how you perform a specific task, or, try a new software, or talk to colleagues about what they're doing differently. That can be something as well. Or in some cases, to overcome this, you can grow or change your role. So for me specifically, I shifted away from just individual coaching pretty early on in my coaching career, so that I was doing groups and workshops and webinars like this. And that helped keep things fresh for me. And now I have other coaches on my team that are doing a lot of the individual coaching as well, which is great. So you want to think about different ways that you can switch things up, and keep in mind that small changes can actually mean big results. You don't have to make some huge dramatic change usually to get out of this kind of funk of feeling burned out. Let's take a look at our quick agenda for today. We're going to talk about the situations where this burnout can happen and the impact. I'm going to give you 10 tips to manage it more effectively. And I want you all to pick out like 2 or 3 that are going to fit best for you. I don't expect everyone to have 10 different things to do from this. That would be overwhelming and too much. But pick out what makes the most sense for your situation. We'll talk about action steps at the end. And please feel free, we always offer during these webinars, as well as to prospective clients, to set up a complimentary strategy session with one of our coaches. We're happy to help you with anything that we've talked about today, or anything else that you need help with, especially during this time. So just email us at the email on the bottom, admin@halliecrawford.com, to get that set up. So if you take a look at this next slide, there's a lot of different reasons why this burnout can happen, right? You may have been in your job for a really long time. You may continue to be called upon to do something that you're really good at, but you're just sick of it. That for me can be like Excel spreadsheets some days. I've gotten a lot better at them, but I don't want to do them all day long. And sometimes, as it has happened with COVID, that our lives or careers can get turned upside down. And what's rewarding for us can change over time. And we need to reevaluate and understand what our values are at this point in our lives. I really think that everything that's happened lately has caused a lot of people to evaluate whether they're in the right career fit in the long run, and if their lives and careers are aligned with their values and the values that they have currently. So we recommend that our clients evaluate their values at least annually, because your values will change a little bit over time. They shouldn't be this dramatic change. You don't become a completely different person, but they can shift in terms of priority and how you define them. So you want to make sure you stay on top of those. And then finally, why this can happen is, as we get better at our jobs, our workload can increase. The negative impact, which is why you're all here, is that we can get bored, just not as interested in what we're doing, or overwhelmed. And obviously, as part of that, we become less effective and efficient and successful. So we want you to take stock and think about all of these 10 tips we're going to give you today. And like I said, pick out 2 or 3. And what I want you all to know as well is these are relevant during these times too. And as I talk about each of these, I will give you little nuggets about how these may need to change and adjust or shift, given that we're working from home from the indeterminate future. But for the most part, a lot of these are going to stay the same as we go here. So here are 10 tips. Let's dive into the first one. So this one relates to what I just talked about a second ago about values. And this is actually a really good time to take a step back and really think about what you want in your job and in your career, especially now that you may not have the coworkers that you really enjoy working with around you all the time. And that was maybe the reason why you liked your job so much. And there were other possible problems that you kind of glossed over because you were able to, because you enjoyed your boss or coworkers or whatever it was. So you may need to take a step back and say, okay, look, if I have to work remotely, at least for a while longer, can I do that? And long term, if I'm going to have to work remotely, do I need to make some sort of shifts? And think about why you started out in your career in the first place. Go back to the very beginning. So for me, I'm 47, and I look back and think about, when I first started my coaching business, what was it that got me into this in the first place? Get back to why you started out in your career before. What was that passion you had for it? And are there things that you need to get back to in terms of tasks that you want to perform, etc., in order to get back to that original kind of flame, if you will, that passion and excitement? As part of the assessment, we also want you to take a look at our ideal career model, which is listed here on this next slide. These are the 8 things that you need to consider in order to determine your career path, create a strategic career plan long-term that's going to work for you, and understand at this point right now why you might be burned out and what needs to change. So we want you to go through each of these pieces on the model, starting with fulfillment, going across to the left, and then up to education, experience, personality, environment, compensation. This can help you figure out what is not working for you anymore, okay, in your career path, why you might be burned out. And the great thing about it is it can be a checklist, like, ooh, it's really just these 2 things. So how do I fix those? Or, it's the work environment. And once I get back to my office, things are going to be better now. This model will help you be more like logical and big picture and rational about, oh my gosh, it's not that I have to go change into a completely different career path. I may just have to change these 2 things, and that can help me. Because a lot of times when our clients come to us, they feel like they have to make a huge dramatic change in order to be happy again. And 9 times out of 10, they really just need to make a course correction. So think about it in that way, everyone. Step number 2 is, from this assessment that you just did, write down the top 5 things that need to change based on the model. Do you need to use one skill a little bit less and try to, ask a colleague or ask for help with a specific task? Do you need to adjust the work environment? So, for example, if you're feeling disconnected, do you need to set up some coffee chats with coworkers to get more engaged back in work, given we're working remotely? One really good thing to do to understand what may be going wrong is to track your hours for 2 days at work in the next couple of days so that you really understand where you're spending your time and are very clear on it instead of just making assumptions. So track it hour by hour. Where am I spending the most time? Do that evaluation and assessment so that you understand where your time is really being spent in case you need to make changes there. Okay. On this slide is how you set up the free career strategy session. If you need a little bit more help going through our career model, we'd be happy to talk with you about kind of the nuggets there and also discuss with you how we can help you through coaching. Happy to do that. We're very busy these days. We're happy to help people because we know that these are really, really difficult times. So feel free to set that up. As part of step number 2 in this assessment, once you've written down your top 5 things, you need to really think about, can I get those and make those changes where I am? Or do I need to change my job once things have settled down and I can get back into job search mode, right? Or can you switch roles at your organization? Try to achieve these things, ideally at your current position first, because obviously that's low-hanging fruit, makes it easier, okay? But then do be willing to say to yourself, okay, in the next year, I might need to make a shift in these areas and look elsewhere. Tip number 3 is to stay in the know. Think about where you feel the most stagnant in your career, and are there classes that you've avoided taking or just didn't feel like doing, or things that you've avoided learning. These are really good. Training of any kind, by the way. I took a time management workshop in person a few years ago. Had nothing to do with coaching. But it really got me re-energized and charged up for months after that because I got new tools to be more effective. So just so you know, you can have a little bit of fun with this. It doesn't always have to be industry or job specific. If you take a class that is just something that you've been interested in or feel like you need help with outside of work even, it gives you a fresh perspective, something to work on and chew on. And by the way, these things, the good part about them is they also make you more marketable if you need to make a move or if you need to leave, okay? So these are good to add to your resume and LinkedIn, etc. And as part of this, just by the way, one of the things that we've been advising our clients is, given the coronavirus crisis, we are having them update their LinkedIn and resumes with crisis management skills and strengths. What have they done during this time to be more effective working remotely? We had one specific example, a VP at Cardinal Healthcare who was able to move his team remotely within 4 days up and running. And we talked through how he could word that and describe that on his LinkedIn and his resume so it was ready to go for his job search when it comes time. So this is something that you want to put out there and add to your list because it's a big deal, especially during these times. Tip number 4 is to put yourself out there more. Now, we can't attend events in person, right? But you can check out your association for your industry. What are they doing online, webinar-wise, remote networking-wise? I know a ton of universities who are doing remote networking. I attended a Zoom meeting the other day where we did an online breakout session. I've never done that before, and I participated, and it was actually fantastic. We all got on our videos. There were 3 people in our breakout room. We attended the webinar as a group, broke out for about 15 minutes. They brought us back in. Boom. It was smooth and fantastic. So think about ways you can put yourself out there a little bit more and get re-engaged in your industry with your alumni association, to just network with people and chat with them about what's going on within their organizations. You'll learn about new things that can get you re-engaged, and you might be invited to do more within your organization, especially if you put yourself out there more within your company. Volunteer for projects. Ask if you can, be part of a new project. Come up with new ideas that you want to suggest, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. One place to do this more these days is LinkedIn groups, getting more involved in those. I think a lot of people have been part of LinkedIn groups over time, but up until now, we would attend in-person networking usually, so we kind of let those lag. This is a great time to get back into the saddle with those and set aside time on your calendar. For example, twice a week, you're going to check out your 2 LinkedIn groups that you have joined or just have let slide, and you're going to participate for about 10 to 15 minutes. Ask some questions, read through some of the posts, find people that are really engaged in the group that you can reach out to and connect with. Okay, so put yourself out there a little bit more on LinkedIn groups these days is a great way to do that. Number 5 is to volunteer your time. By the way, you can volunteer remotely. So this can be internally within your organization or externally volunteering. And it can be personal or professional. By the way, the personal stuff will make you feel better and get you re-energized in other areas of your life. So on this slide, there are, and remember, you'll get this recording when we're done today too, everybody. So you'll have a copy of the slides that way. The listings on here, the websites on here, are places that you can find remote volunteer opportunities. We had one person, one of our clients in Atlanta, she's just a good example. A lot of clients have done this. She did a remote volunteer work. It was a project for 3 months, and they were updating a nonprofit in California, their website. She did the project for 3 months. She got a testimonial and a recommendation from the team leader. She made some new networking connections, and she got a testimonial as well from the client that they worked for, and was able to put that experience on her resume. So definitely just go ahead and put yourself out there for this so that you can get more engaged and involved. And this is a great way to gain some more experience that you need to put or want to put on your resume as well. Okay. Tip number 6 is to participate more actively with your team. So I touched on this just a moment ago. Given that we're all remote, we can start to feel really isolated. I totally get it. I can feel that way too myself. So if you have not scheduled informal personal chat time with some of your coworkers, we want you to do that. Do it with your friends and family as well. Staying in front of your team and your supervisor, we got to do this a little bit more because we don't have the opportunity to do that in person, walking down the hall. You need to put yourself out there a little bit more. Err on the side during these times of over-communicating, speaking up in meetings more, et cetera, because you'll be seen and called upon to help with things that you may not have otherwise. And by the way, during these times too, it's important to offer up your assistance in a specific way. Can I help? This is the way that I can help. Don't just put the question out there to people because they may not come up with ideas right away, or it might be hard for them, but say, hey, can I help with this project? Here's how I can pitch in. Give them a couple of sentences of what you might suggest, okay? Tip number 7, especially during this time too, to keep things more stable for yourselves, is to communicate with your boss regularly, not just in our standard performance reviews. And this is especially what we want to do during these times. They'll keep you more in mind for the next step, for projects, etc. If you have a really good relationship with them, you may need to talk with them about what you need to do to stay fulfilled and effective during this time working remotely because you're having a hard time with ABC. They may have some ideas about what you can do about that. Who else can pitch in on projects if you need a little bit of assistance? But communicate with your supervisor regularly about your long-term goals, okay? We tend to assume that they just know what we want and that they know that we want to move up or whatever. But we've had a client, just a really good example recently, that, hadn't kind of spoken up enough. And he finally did just say, look, I'm ready to move up. I'm ready for the next challenge. And he finally got promoted. It took several months. I would say for him, it was about 6 to 8 months after he had said this. But he realized after the fact that he hadn't spoken up enough, that this could have happened sooner. And because he hadn't let them know this is what he wanted, it took longer than he would have liked. Tip number 8 is to take a class. I'm sure you all have heard that during this time. There are a lot of places that are providing classes. And as we said earlier, it doesn't have to be industry specific. It could be online or video chat, video conference, and it could be something that's live, by the way, or something that's more passive, just like a course that you sign up for and you get an email every week. A good one is Coursera. edX is good too, and MOOC.org. All of these are really good. You may find a favorite professor on one of these from one of your previous classes from college. LinkedIn Learning is really good. Auditing a class at your alma mater, whatever that is. Those kinds of things. I know a lot of classes or a lot of universities are actually offering auditing of classes and doing it remotely to alumni too, to help them stay engaged. Tip number 9 is to embrace change and actually kind of cause it in some cases too. One of the silver linings about being in crisis like we are is that it forces us to be more creative and innovative than we would otherwise. We kind of get complacent, right? So this is one of the positive things. So especially now that we're working remotely, if there are things that you think need to be improved, changed, updated, efficiencies, suggest them. Take the time to identify an issue at work or a challenge or an inefficiency and make some suggestions for what you can do about that in order to get you re-engaged in something positive so that you're focusing on something new. I really do feel like as humans, we all want to be challenged and engaged in some way, shape, or form. We have had a few clients contact us and say, look, I'm ready for my encore career and I just want to phone it in. And that's fine. It depends on the life stage that you're at, of course. But the majority of people, they want to feel engaged in some way. And just doing something new, having something new for our brains to kind of chew on is good. I make a joke that you can imagine that your brain is kind of like, a zoo animal, so to speak, and you need to feed it some fresh food every once in a while, whatever it is. I use that analogy with our clients sometimes, and our coaches do too. So just think about what is it that you can do that's new and fresh that will get you re-engaged. And then finally, tip number 10 is based on what we talked about today, come up with an action plan. And as I said earlier, I would pick 2 or 3 of these to start with, and you can add the rest to your list for later on. I don't know about you all, but I tend to bite off more than I can chew and try to do 10 things at once, and it doesn't work, as we know. So I would pick a few of these and then say to yourself, okay, look, I will implement the rest of these changes over the next, 6 to 8 months. So create a plan for yourself and bookmark these things for later, because that will help you feel like you've got it down and written down somewhere. And you may need to say to yourself, okay, I need to go kind of day by day because I don't know how things are going to turn out with my current job. So I'm willing to stay at my current job for 3, 6, 8, whatever it is, more months. When you write that down and you have a plan in mind, everyone, and a deadline, it makes you feel more in control. Okay, and that's part of what you need to do, because I know we're all kind of taking things day by day a little bit. Then you want to set up 3, 6, and 12-month goals and regularly update them over time. So I encourage you, after we talk today and you get the recording, that you set and establish this level, 3, 6, and 12-month goals, and regularly update them quarterly. Okay, but put a plan out there to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It will help us all feel like we're more in control, because I know that we all feel, like we don't know what's going to happen week to week almost. And this is what we have found with people who are with our clients in job search mode, is that things are kind of week by week. The good news that I wanted to share with you all is that we are finding that our clients are getting hired. We've had 3 clients get new jobs in the past month. And clients are getting interviews. One of our coaches talked with someone this morning who is preparing for an interview, his final interview on Tuesday. So there are people out there that are hiring. It's slower. So we want you to be understanding of people's time and realize they may not get back to you right away, but they will get back with you. It is like, it might be really busy one week and it might slow down the next week. Just try to be patient and realize that that's normal, and don't panic, okay? If any of you would like to talk to us more about our coaching services, happy to chat with you. Just email us at admin@halliecrawford.com. We do these freebies to help people as much as we possibly can, and we'd be happy to help you further through our coaching services. We love doing what we do, and we have several coaches on our team who are just fantastic with all of these different issues that you guys are dealing with. So we'll help you get to where you need to be. And finally, before we go today, we do want you to take action as a result of being here. So come up with 2 action steps that you'll take in the next week. It could be reviewing the model, participating more actively in meetings, talking to your supervisor about what's going on, and making the move up when things settle down a little bit more. And finally, before we go here, we do know that some of these action items we're suggesting to you may feel like a little bit of a risk. When I am feeling like I don't want to step out of my comfort zone and something feels hard and unsettling or a little bit scary to me, this is the quote that I always use to push myself out of my comfort zone. Remember that the greatest risk in life is not taking one, and that without risk, there's no reward. You know how this goes. So at the end of the day, you want to be able to say to yourselves that you tried, even if you failed and it didn't work out as well as you would like, and took the risk to move the ball forward. Thanks everyone for being here today. We greatly appreciate your time. Please, as a quick reminder here, let me just go to this slide. Connect with us on LinkedIn for additional career advice. And please feel free to schedule that complimentary strategy session with one of our coaches. We'd be happy to give you some additional advice and talk with you about our coaching services as well. Please stay safe and well, everyone. Greatly appreciate your time. And look to receive the recording. You should get that within the next 24 hours. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.